All right, so you should see the new user webinar screen now. And I'm going to have this presentation, this little PowerPoint going in the background, and I'm going to use it to keep me going straight in line with my presentation. And we're going to jump onto the website. We're going to do a couple things and then play around with some apps and stuff. But for this this particular new user webinar, this is some of the things that we're going to talk about. What is Buzztouch? What can you do with Buzztouch? How does Buzztouch work? Who is Buzztouch for? How is Buzztouch different than any of the other app makers or any other similar solutions out there? And then where do I start? How do we even get started? That's one of the reasons why we're doing this presentation, is that in the past, you could sign up for Buzztouch for free. You could log in and get into your control panel, and from there, that's where you can either keep on going and learn it piece by piece, or there's been several members that have just disappeared because they didn't know what to do. So that's what we're doing tonight, is we're going to figure out what it is that, give you guys a jump start on how to get this, how to get started with Buzztouch. Oops. So what is Buzztouch? This is a little quote right from the website, and it says that Buzztouch is open source, flexible, powerful, and professional web-based software that powers tens of thousands of iPhone, iPad, and Android applications. So it lists in there what it is, who it's created by David Book, founded in 2009, used by more than 175,000 people, and basically it's a web-based software, like it says, that you log into. You do all your manipulation of your applications, your iPhone apps or your Android apps in the control panel, and we're going to show all that tonight. And then you download it and you compile it, and then you've got an actual app that works. And not only that, but you get an app that you can work on back in the website, back in the web portal again. So it makes it kind of unique. It makes it very powerful, and we're going to show how it's different than some other solutions. All right, so the main thing here, it says, what can you do with Buzztouch? When I thought about what I would tell somebody if I met them in the street and they said, well, what is Buzztouch? What, how does it work? What do you want to do? That's the points that I'm hitting on tonight. And this this says that you can quickly develop mobile apps of varying complexity. So there's a lot of solutions out there that can get you going quick, but they might be, too simple. And there's a lot of solutions out there that are take a lot of learning, and they might be able to make something really awesome. This is kind of right there in the middle, so you can quickly develop something, and then you can make it grow as you go. The other thing it says there is manage mobile apps with the dynamic content from an online control panel. That's another thing that really makes Buzztouch different, is that once we publish our apps, or once we finish an app, we can actually go back into the control panel and make some changes to it while it's still out there in the application stores, either the iTunes or the Google Play market, and we can make simple changes in our control panel that are going to propagate out to the app that's finished. So that's going to give us some real power to be able to work with. All right, so how does Buzztouch work? So this is basically a few simple steps that it almost looks too simple, and I'm going to list those out for you. One, create a project, and the project's going to equate to an application, an app, whether it's iPhone or iPad or Android. Next thing it says is you add and configure your screens. So whatever content that you want in your app itself, you're going to add those in your control panel, and those are called plugins. We'll show you what plugins are. Then you download the source code, and then you open that source code in your compiler, which is going to be either Xcode for your iPhone applications or Eclipse for your Android applications, and then you see it running. And that's really as simple as it is, and it's going to take us all of about 5 minutes tonight to show you how to do that, how to create a project, add some screens, download it, compile it, and see it running in the simulator. From there, once you've got a working project, you're only a few steps away from submitting that into either Google Play Market or the iTunes App Store, and you've got yourself, you're an application publisher. So we can show you tonight how easy that is for you. And then this one here says who is Buzztouch for? First thing it says there's anyone and everyone, and that might seem like kind of a marketing statement that Buzztouch is for anyone and everyone. But if I could start listing out some of the people that I've met over the last 2 years, and it would range the full spectrum of every career, every lifestyle, every country. It's really that big. So some of the bullets we got there: non-developers, people who have never done any kind of iPhone development before, people who have never done any kind of programming before. So that's one key demographic of the Buzztouch users. Developers, whether they're web developers like it says there, or people that have played around with other programming languages, or even people who have made iPhone applications, the hard way, that have hand-coded the whole thing from scratch in Xcode or Eclipse. There's even reasons for developers, pro developers, to use Buzztouch to give themselves a jump start and to make some of the tedious work just go quicker and easier. The next bullet there is businesses. A lot of businesses will use Buzztouch either as controlling their own application and having full control rather than hiring somebody else to do it and having to email that person every time, hey, I need you to change this page, I need you to change this page. They can do it all themselves. And some of those businesses are iPhone and Android developer that started businesses because they were successful with Buzztouch. And there's too many examples to count of that too in the Buzztouch community. People who have just started off seeing what they could do with it, and then they've ended up, creating full businesses out of it and supporting themselves with it. So that's awesome. When we get towards the end, we'll have some success stories to talk about to kind of get you guys all motivated and all ramped up. But the last bullet there is just some examples: doctors, teachers, photographers, musicians, entrepreneurs, 13-year-old kids, high school kids. Some teachers have brought their full classrooms in to use Buzztouch as one of their programming projects. So we see a lot of students in there. Stay-at-home entrepreneurs, just every type of person, and that goes back to that first bullet of anyone and everyone can use Buzztouch. First and foremost, because you don't have to be a programmer, you don't have to have any experience. Warren had mentioned at the beginning of this webinar that I do a podcast, and in the process of doing this podcast, I've interviewed several people from the Buzztouch community and heard their success stories, and all of them start off with, I didn't know anything about developing applications, and now I've got, some of them have a dozen or more in the iTunes store, and they're making decent money from it. So Buzztouch is, in that case, for everyone and anyone and everyone. So I'm going to have a couple slides here on how Buzztouch is different. And this first slide here says, first and foremost, the community. I can't stress to you enough how true that is. I've been online since online was available to the public, and I've been in many different forums, bulletin boards, user communities, and I've never been in one that was as personable, as helpful, and just overall welcoming as the community at Buzztouch. So remember what I said, that all of the admins that you see besides David and Steven, we were all just users of this great product, and we all were active in the forums, and we all got asked to join the team. You can see right here the most recent people have signed on. You always see that on the left-hand side of the forums. Over here, you can always see a link to the top 25. This is just a little screenshot I took the other day of how many topics. That's not how many posts there are. That's how many topics in the few years that Buzztouch has been around that have been in the forums. Most of those being, either questions on, someone's hit a brick wall in their app and they've got a problem, they've got an error, and then people jump in to help them how to fix it. And then you can see that right here I've got the introduce yourself that I'll show you in the forums when we visit there in just a second. That's one of the steps that I want you to take if you are new, to just jump into the forums. You'll be surprised how many times someone has jumped in and introduced themselves, and someone else had popped up and said, "Well, hey, I live right down the street from you. You know, it's a small world." So let's do this. I'm going to jump into the forums real quick so we can see these things live. So you can see on here on the left-hand side the newest members that have signed up. It always has their picture. Once you add a graphic to your forum user, your avatar, then you're going to show up in this list if you're new. We've got all these topics. We've got the introduce yourself thing where we've got 119, I guess, posts of people that have logged in since we instituted that a couple months ago and just announced who they were, why they're here. Just a little tiny backstory. Doesn't have to be too elaborate, just, you know, where you're from and why you're here and how you found the place and that kind of stuff. So so that's all great stuff in the forums. Plenty of places to ask questions, obviously, and you're always going to get, I mean, you can see here that there's no posts here that don't have any replies yet. It blows my mind how quick that somebody can ask a question and the question's already been answered by the time that I even see it. So that's really a credit to the community.
Hey, Chris.
All right, so yes.
Speaking of questions, it looks like Al Zagofsky has his hand up. If you'd like to take a question from Al.
Sure.
Al, do you have a question?
If you've got a question, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask away.
I pushed the wrong button.
Okay. That's fine. I did that the other day too in a webinar. I kept on hitting the wrong button. All right. Anybody else have a question while we're here?
I think we're good, Chris.
Okay. All right. So I'll continue rambling on. So we're still on the subject of how Buzztouch is different. And this note right here says keep the code. This is really something that is unique with Buzztouch, is that the source code that you get to compile or that you get to download is yours to keep and yours to modify. So the bullets there say some services will compile your project and supply the finished product. That's one of the more common solutions that I see, is that you pay you know, a monthly service or a yearly service to some kind of app making software, and you put the thing all together and you hit download and it compiles it for you, and then you can submit it, but you can't ever go back in and kind of reverse engineer it or make some tweaks to it if you wanted to. Some services will submit the app for a fee, so they don't even let you download anything. They just say, pay us another $50 or whatever it is, and we're going to submit it on your behalf. I never felt comfortable with that. Some services will charge you for the source code. You know, they'll say you can download the compiled finished product, but if you want the actual source code, you have to pay extra for that, and you know, that's never fun. But everything that you design and create at Buzztouch is yours to keep. Now that's one of the things that I looked for, and one of the things that caught my eye right away. And when I first got into this, like I said, about 2 years ago, I was looking at making some applications for myself, but I was also asked if I could make applications for others. So I had clients come up to me and say, hey, can you make me an iPhone app? And I said, well, sure, let's give it a shot. But I didn't want to use any type of service that didn't give me full control of that source code and didn't let me have control, because I was really the developer that was making this for the end client, and I didn't want to have a middleman between me and the source code, and I didn't want the client to have a middleman also. So I was looking for something that I could create and download and have full control of and do whatever I wanted to with, and I didn't think I was going to find it. I honestly didn't think, after I searched and searched and searched, I didn't think I was going to find something like that. But then I found Buzztouch, and you know, it was almost too good to believe, but here I am 2 years later telling you you can go ahead and believe it, because that's the way it works. So everything you design, you get to keep. So if you were, like I said, if you were someone that didn't know anything at all about developing or coding or, you know, any programming, You can download it, you can compile it, and you can ship it off to iTunes. But if you are a developer, or if you do have some experience, or you're willing to, learn a little bit, crack some books open, visit some other websites, and learn about writing code, or even just modifying code, then you can download the source code, go in there and make any changes that you want, and then save it, and it's still yours. So that's really, like I said, if you're a developer, you could get a bunch of dirty work done in the control panel, get a quick and nasty app done, download it, and then start tweaking it a little bit and making it exactly how you want it. All right, this next one, project scalability. We talked about before how some app builders allow elaborate app creation but require learning a programming language. I can think of several examples, and I'm not going to state exact company names or anything in this presentation, but I've seen them out there. You guys probably seen them out there before, where it's a solution where you can learn a new language that may be easier than, let's say, Objective-C for iPhone, or maybe easier than Java for Android. But it's still something you have to learn. You still have to learn a whole new language. And in my experience with this, and I've learned a couple programming languages over the years, my experience is that once you learn one, you can kind of learn the next one easier. So it's learning that first one. If you have to learn the first one, it's going to be hard no matter what. The next bullet there says some app builders allow simple app creation, but are very limited in its function, and I call those the cookie cutter sites, where you can add just a couple things and that's it. If you wanted to add more, you couldn't, or if you wanted to add more, you'd have to pay more to expand the functionality. And then Buzztouch is kind of right there in the middle. It allows you to scale your projects between these two limitations. You can start with something simple, start with what you understand, and kind of add those easy to manipulate screens. And then the more you learn, the more you can add. And like I said, I've seen plenty of examples of stuff that has come out of Buzztouch before, and I just keep on getting more and more impressed by the level of work that people are able to do. And why I mention that is I've seen some of the other competitors out there that when you look at an app in the App Store, and when you can look at it and say, I know that that person used this to make that app, they used XYZ to make that app. That's not ever a real good thing, because then you go and find 50 other people that have apps that look just like it, and you know that all of them use the same XYZ to make their app. When I look at some of the Buzztouch apps, they can start off fairly simple, but they all look native, and that's important, especially for Apple for approval process. You want your app to look like it's been made the right way, and they are. But I look at some apps and I swear I can't recognize them as being made by Buzztouch, and that's a good thing. The next thing here is plugins. We talked about how we can expand the functionality of our apps by having more than just the cookie cutter screens. So plugins is something that was started with this with the newest version of Buzztouch about a year ago, and you can each plugin equals a new type of screen that's in your app. So what we have today, what you guys see today when you log in and you look at the list of plugins, is going to be completely different than when you log in about 3 months from now, when there's more and more plugins. The plugin market started maybe in the fall of 2012, and it's starting to really build some momentum, and we're starting to get some great people in the community that can create these plugins that are just blowing my mind when you see them. So the longer that we wait, the more impressive stuff we're going to see in that plugin market. So the plugin market has some free plugins, and some are plugins that you have to purchase, but you only have to purchase them once for as many apps as you make, and most of them are under $10. I mean, most of them are $3 or $4. And we'll jump into the plugin market here in just a second and show you some of the different things that you can do with them. And if you're just starting and you've been kind of afraid to go ahead and throw some money into that market because you have to deposit the money and then you purchase the things, if you have any questions about that process, we'll be happy to answer that too. So let me go ahead and jump in to the market here real quick. And we can see here that this is just my fake user, Joe Guest, and he has no money yet in market credit. But you can see all these things. This one was just submitted in today by PSM Danny. All these different streaming audio, contact cards, password splash, circle view. All these different plugins are ones that you can either purchase or they're free. You can see some of them are already installed when you go ahead and set up your account. Some of them are free, and you just have to click on them to install them into your control panel. And as we go on, this list is just going to get longer and longer. And you see most of them are like $3 or so, which is really lower than what I thought they were going to be. But that's a good thing for the users. You know, lets you use, like for example, this. Let's say the Mac image gallery. You pay $5 once, and then for as many projects as you create, you can use that plugin in there as many times as you want. So it's really a good deal. Go back here. All right, so that brings me up to a breaking point now that we've showed some of the differences between Buzztouch and other services out there. So if you have a question, this would be a good time to go ahead and raise your hand. Oops. I see no hands so far.
I don't see any on my end either, Chris.
Okay.
I think we're okay. I don't see any on my end either.
All right, sounds good. So I'll continue on. So this is the next important part here. Where do I start? So assuming that you've seen the announcement for this, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you have already created an account. If you haven't, then it's very simple to do. You just log on the website and click the Getting Started or Get Me Started button, and you set up an email address and a password, and you know it's the same thing as any other website. But once you get in and you confirm your email address and you've got the actual login to get into your account, that's where we're going to start from here. So it says, where do I start? Explore your account menu. Getting to learn that account menu just takes a couple tries, and then once you learn where everything is, it's very effective to get in and around the Buzztouch site. So a couple things that I've got here listed is you want to set up your public profile, your developer profile, and your email settings. And I'm going to show you that in just a second, but let me explain why. You've got two different profiles, the public profile and the developer profile. The public profile is one that everybody can see. If they click on your name in the form, they can see, you know, maybe where you're at, what your avatar is, and that kind of stuff. The developer profile is one that you can set up if you are, you know, an aspiring developer and you want people to know what your background is, and you could even, you know, generate some business on here. If you were an expert, you know, Objective-C coder and you listed that in there, you might get people emailing you saying, hey, can you help me with this? I'm willing to pay. I've gotten several, you know, inquiries over the years just for that very reason. And then set up your email settings, because some of the email settings will dictate whether or not you can get private messages or whether you get notified if someone answers your forum question. So we're going to look at that in just a second. The other things I have on here is visit the forum and introduce yourself. I showed you the introduce yourself forum, and how you can just log on there, create a topic, you know, give a quick explanation of who you are and why you're at Buzztouch and what you're looking to do. I guarantee you'll have people respond back and welcoming you to the community and telling you exactly what you need to do to get on your way. The next thing here is take the Buzztouch learning path. That's part of the BTU, which I'll show you here in a second also. It's something that's probably going to change in the future, but in the meantime, it kind of gives an explanation from David Book, from the creator, of what Buzztouch is all about. It takes about 32 minutes total. It gives you some more views of the control panel than we're going to get into tonight. And then you get your first star, which I'll show you here in just a second, and then visit the how-to page. So I'm going to visit all those things there, the account menu, the learning path, and the how-tos page. So I'm going to jump back to the website. When you click up here on your name, after you've logged in, you'll see your name up here. When you click on there, that gets you to your account menu. So this is your account menu on the left. Up along the top is going to be all the main links to like the form, the plugin market. But right here is what's actually in your account. And if you ever forget how to get there, just remember it's up here at your name. Once you get into here, then you can see that I've got the email settings, which I said you want to go ahead and just read through those and select the ones that you want to do and hit save. You've got the public profile, which is where you give yourself a screen name for the forms. Give yourself a little tagline out of the options there. Upload an avatar for your form profile, and that's when you're going to start showing up. Once you've uploaded that, you'll show up on the new users list on the left. A little welcome message, and if you want to put in your location is going to show up on the Buzz map, where you can see other people that are using Buzztouch in the near vicinity of you, and then the allow private messages or not. So that's probably one thing that you want to select in case you've ever asked a question in the form and someone says, hey, I'll PM you or I'll private message you. If you don't have this selected, then it won't actually let anybody private message you. So that's the public profile. The developer profile is similar, but it's got a little bit more for your professional view. If you set up a website URL, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff, a description that will show up on there, any skills that you have, your experience, the languages that you speak, and you can even put an hourly rate on there. And if you say that you can allow site visitors to see my developer info, you can select that, then they'll be able to browse all this within your profile. And you could either generate some income from that, or it could just be free advertisement for yourself. So I told you about the Buzz map. I'll jump over to that real quick. This it's showing the latest 100 most logins. If you clicked on 1,000, then you'll see where all the users are, and you can drill down into this and kind of
Chris, are you still there?